Hey guys, so this is the open mic for The Hour and the Man. Speaking of the hour, I apologize that this was a little bit late. My daughter got a fever last night, which in this time of COVID just sends us into a whirlwind where both kids have to stay home from school and then we have to go to the doctor and try and get a COVID test. Anyways, so this morning was spent doing that. The good news is she does not have COVID. And so I just sent James back off to school, and my daughter, is currently watching Doc McStuffins, which is her favorite show. And so while she's busy doing that, I thought I will come do this open mic. So sadly, she probably will not make an appearance during it because she loves her some Doc McStuffins. Okay, so what I thought we could do is think about the way that dialogue is used in this novel, and this is coming from a couple of different things that people said that they were interested in. I think Stuart was actually the first one that maybe mentioned the sort of dialogic nature of the novel and how it uses dialogue. And then when I was thinking back on this, I realized that's kind of one of the critiques that Martineau received both from her contemporaries and from more recent scholars, that her dialogue is not well crafted. Most of the time this is in reference to her novel Deerbrook. And Martineau herself in her autobiography kind of alludes to the fact that she thinks she doesn't do a good job writing dialogue. So one thing we could of course think about is the sort of aesthetic quality of her dialogue, but also, and maybe more to the point, I was interested in thinking about the way that dialogue functions in terms of the form of the novel, which we have been interested in, and that question of representation and interpretation. So do these moments of dialogue offer us some more of those moments that Kristen referred to, these kind of moments that are more open to interpretation, right? Where the burden of interpretation is placed on the reader, or in contrast, do we think that dialogue is one of those more heavy-handed didactic moments? And then, of course, maybe it differs based on conversation. So I'm just wondering if you guys can maybe kind of locate a conversation between two or more characters and kind of think about these questions of form. You know, what is the dialogue supposed to be accomplishing? Is dialogue the narrative strategy that seems to be the most effective in that moment? Or, you know, could we maybe say Martineau should have tried something different? Is there some kind of interpretive dilemma for the reader in that dialogue? This also came up for me at the very beginning of the next volume. So again, you don't necessarily have to have read much further in order to do the open mic, but if you wanted to just look at the very next chapter, it is Therese kind of confronting Toussaint as he is about Moise is, I guess, waiting for his execution. And I was a little bit surprised. I thought the way that the conversation was going, that Therese was going to kind of continue to stand up for Moise and say that Toussaint was wrong for executing him and not having mercy on Moise, but she strangely, by the end of the conversation, sort of seems to be okay with it, like she's been convinced by Toussaint's arguments. So I was wondering, for myself as a reader, though, I felt like Therese brought up such great kind of pushback against Toussaint that it did kind of leave me as a reader going, oh, that's a good point. Like, why is Toussaint doing this? So in a way, the conversation made me doubt Toussaint, even though Therese in the moment seems to kind of go on and be okay with Toussaint's decision. So I kind of diverged as a reader from Therese in that moment. And I think there's going to be some other things that happen with Therese. So I don't know that she is always going to be sort of a rah-rah Toussaint supporter, but at the immediate aftermath of this conversation, she seems to be okay with him. So again, kind of this dialogue, what's its purpose, what's it doing with the form of the novel. It does bring in some interesting gender questions, this particular conversation as well, in terms of, you know, between a male and a female, particularly a female that has been considered sort of wrong and spurned earlier, but now is back in Toussaint's good graces because she's properly married off. So Just a lot going on there. So again, kind of find a conversation that you think it kind of illustrates some of these issues, whether it's interpretation, representation, kind of form of the novel, and sort of thinking about what is the role that dialogue plays as a narrative technique, and then how does it highlight maybe a particular theme or a particular issue, whether that issue is a narrative issue or a historical one.